Hey all, this tutorial is to challenge you to use the watercolor filter in the filter drop-down menu in Photoshop and Photoshop Elements. Here is what I did with this, and it's a fairly simple filter to work with. I have my original photo here. Here's the background layer. So I have my original photo here. I'm going to go ahead and dissect this a little bit so you can see what I've got. I've got my text layer, and I've got a layer with just this simple lowered opacity line. Kind of what makes it cool is this layer here that I made, and that is simply made by using the rectangular marquee tool, and I had the feather set on 100, created it and filled it with white, and then I changed it to the multiply blending mode. I think I might have filled it with black and then hit Control-I. I don't know if that makes any difference, but that's what I did to get that. And so if we turn on this layer here and the original again, you can see what I have for my very simple layout. The watercolor effect is applied to this background. Let me turn that off. Look, before we do that, let me show you what the difference is between, I don't have any drop shadow on this original photo layer. I'm going to turn this layer here, the special layer, which I think makes a big difference, on and off. And you can see what an important effect such a simple layer has. But let's turn off all of this stuff at the top. And this is my watercolor effect layer that I use the filter on. And if you zoom in, you can see I'm not convinced it looks like watercolor at all. It does have some outline of the various groupings, almost as if you sketched it and then filled it in with a watercolor. I think when I think of watercolor, I think of more just all the colors blending together without these black lines in between. But this is what the filter apparently does. If I were to take a paintbrush with watered down paint and paint it with it, I wouldn't get this effect. So I actually did go out and test and play with some other tutorials, and let's see, this one here, let's turn these three on, was another effect that I played with, and the first layer had fined edges, the second layer had a hard mix applied, then was inverted, and then desaturated, and then the top layer, these were all three the same with different things applied, had a hard light and a Gaussian blur applied to it. And you can see it gives the same effect. It's got all these dark lines in it. It doesn't really seem like watercolor to me. So I decided, yeah, that's cool. Might be kind of fun to play with someday, but not really watercolor. And I tried another one, and I actually really liked this one. And the way it looked, and it was actually simpler to make than you would think. But once again, when I scrolled in, I saw all these lines. I'm like, this is not watercolor, but obviously that's what people think watercolor is on the internet. And for this one, it was the original layer of Smart Blur was applied to it, and that same layer was duplicated up here, and Color Dodge was applied to it, and I think I might have even, I think that's all I did to it. And then the middle layer was glowing edges, and then I inverted it and desaturated it. And then on this layer here, I took the brushes. I took both a dry media brush, and under the wet media brushes there are watercolor brushes. And simply hit D on my keyboard to get this as black and white, and I just simply colored it back in with black. It was kind of amazing how it worked, and it looks really, really cool. I saw that tutorial in a book and thought I'd try it to see if it looked more like watercolor, and when I took it and stretched it like I did this one, it didn't make much difference on my layout, and so I used this one. Here, let's go ahead and play with this. We're going to get down here is also an original photo. So Control J, let's play with it. And if you go to the filter drop-down menu, Artistic and Watercolor, you're going to see the filter gallery pop up. This is one of them that's in the filter gallery. And there are 3 sliders that you can utilize. I had the texture all the way up. Didn't see a whole lot of difference on the texture before and after. The brush detail I have all the way up. I suppose you could play with it. If you look here, it makes a pretty big difference having the brush detail down lower, but I happened to have it all the way up when I was playing with mine. Now the shadow intensity, this is the big one. When you, for my particular photo anyway, when I upped the shadows, it really made things a lot darker. In fact, if I take it all the way up, I was visualizing what in the world I could do with this, because there's almost no color left with it, and that looked pretty cool. But I think I had mine set on 1. But as you look at this, you're going to see it's really dark. And so there's a recommended few steps before you use this watercolor to achieve the correct effect. And the first one is to go to the blur and smart blur, and I don't think there's any wrong or right settings. I had the threshold up pretty high, and the radius, you know, you can hit this and kind of see what it's going to look like by zooming out. I'm getting my computer where it's freezing. Let's let it recuperate for a second. It doesn't like that I'm moving so many things at once as I'm recording. The recording software really takes up some RAM. So I'm going to bump. Let's just leave it before it freezes again and click OK. It froze again. Okay, it's applying the smart blur. Then you'll remember, because this helps it to spread those lines out a little bit so that there's not so many of those black lines everywhere. But as you'll remember, it was pretty dark, and so we are going to go to the filter drop-down menu, stylize, and diffuse. And in this case, we're going to change the lighten only. It comes up default under normal, and then there's a choice for darken. You can see the differences. I don't know what anisotropic is. Ooh, looks kind of psychedelic. But we did lighten only, and I clicked OK. And then I applied this several times. You can just hit Control F a bunch of times on your keyboard to apply the same most recent filter, but I don't have any idea how many times I did it. I just did it a bunch of times. And then when you go to the filter menu, Artistic and Watercolor, and you bring it up, these are the same settings that we had just a minute ago, but you can see it's much lighter. It's not so dark. Of course we can darken it up again all the way to dark. Ooh, look at the difference that is from before. But you can see it works so much better having just the smart blur and then the diffuse over and over with the light and setting, and then click OK, and that's all I did to get my background. And I went ahead for my purposes and stretched it out. Original, put back in all of these, and there we go. There is my layout. Now I want to show you one other thing. I played a lot. I spent a long time playing. It feels good to play and be artistic, and this turned out to be just something so simple. But I actually continued playing, and I had it in this file and decided to create a new file. Here is a paper that I made from this photo. Is that not too cool? Look here. Here's the photo. Same background with that. It is with the watercolor effect applied. I'd never tried it without. I guess I could. Let's try it and see. Here we go. A playing. Let's turn that on and stretch it out and see if there's any difference between the two. Oh, it's such a big transformation. I'm going to use my arrow keys and move it over, make sure it's all on the page. Let's see, here's with just a regular photo, and here's with the watercolor. I think it does make a little bit of difference. Let's zoom in. You can see that the watercolor one, it's got different colors in it. It's slightly more subtle. Anyway, so I found this texture, and I actually it was a free for commercial use texture, and I actually used the clone tool on it. I didn't like it as it was, and I actually added I think you can see it mostly up here. See this line? I played with the texture until I redid it to where I liked it, and it is using the luminosity blending mode, and I found a cool paper. And then I also found another cool texture that was commercial use. Actually, let's go back. When I had this one, I was playing with this, and before and after, and before and after. You'll remember this simple thing I had? I ended up lowering the opacity down to 24, but I thought it looked so much better with that on there, and so I did have that on this paper when I saved it. And then this is the other texture, and I think see, it doesn't work very well by itself, but with this texture underneath, it also creates another really cool, more like a watercolor look paper. And so I'm going to be sharing those because I accidentally made them in my playing, and I hope they're useful for someone. But I just wanted to show what you could do with a photo in making papers, because you can see the water down here. Anyway, pretty darn cool. So I look forward now to, whoops, I hate it when that thing comes up there, to seeing what you can do with this filter, and go out there and have some fun.